computer. And here we go. So I am so happy to have you all here today. And in the prayer time that we just had, which was such a sweet time of prayer, so blessed by it. I prayed from the start of part 2. In part 1, we had talked about the amazing way that our body helps us to be safe in times of struggle or where there's life or death situations. But on page 63, we started the second part of the book, and that was our experiments on finding the better way to be safe. And I prayed from the excerpt that says, Lord, please reveal hidden places of pain in my heart that have not known your love. We will have peace of mind. We will have the peace of Christ ruling in our hearts to the degree that we know that we are loved by God, okay? And help us to realize that we have walls of self-protection, like flipping into freeze mode, okay, when times are bad. And help us to trust that you have a better way of making us safe. So this is our better way of making us feel safe, okay? So let's jump in to our lesson, okay? I want us to start on 119, which kind of gives the, well, let me see. It is already 10:44, which is, so we're getting going about 15 minutes later than we usually would. And I wanted us to start by doing the grounding drill. And I just want a show of hands and kind of feedback. Would you like this opportunity to do the grounding drill before we talk about freeze mode, which is the situation in which grounding drill would be helpful? And, you know, and I feel like that might be a good idea to do, even though we're running late. But I want us to, you know, how are you feeling about doing that? Have you all been doing grounding drill a lot, or would you like to have the opportunity to do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, I'm going to show a thing from a PowerPoint, which means that everybody's picture should be, you know, that should be the only thing that shows. So you don't need to worry about being embarrassed that other people will see. I can't believe it. There's Patricia, Pat. Take a look at Pat. You know, get off mute. Tell us where you are, and so happy you can join us. Okay, take off mute. Okay.
Okay, we left Sun Lakes, which is a little bit southeast of Phoenix, and now we're on the road. So we're pretty much in the desert.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I thought, why not? I can do this.
Yeah, this is so cool. This is so
yeah,
cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to put us on share screen. Let's see how close I get to this. So I'm going to put you guys all there, and then I'm going to put this as the main thing. So is that helpful?
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you.
Wait. Where did I go? Where did it go? There it is. Okay, so this I'm going to put. Does that give you a feel for the direction? And I'm going to lead us, and I'm going to do it within 3 minutes. Okay, so we're going to jump from thing to thing, and I'll give you a prompt to do each part. Okay,
Dee Dee, I can still see everyone, which in the past I haven't been able to see when you do this. Does everyone still see each other, or is it just mine?
Yeah, on the side.
On the side.
Okay, well then let me get off of this.
Oh, it's okay. No.
No, it's okay. They're very small.
That's okay. You know, I think it would be fine because I'll keep it, you guys, as small as I can, okay? And just be focused on doing the drill.
And for anyone who's concerned, you can press right where the mute is, press stop video, and you won't see, no one will see you if that's what you're concerned.
Yeah, if you want to do that, I think that's even better. Yes. So let's go back to it, and I'm just going to, but put everybody on mute so that if you're saying something that we're not hearing you. Okay? Okay. So I want you to put your, touch your fingers to your forehead to kind of connect yourself to pilot. And then I want you to look at your left foot and keep looking at it until you can feel your foot from the foot's point of view. Now just feel around, just be curious. What is your foot feeling? Is it hot or cold? Is it warm? Is it cramped or loose? Just check in with what your foot is feeling. And now do the same with the other. With your hands to your forehead, look at your right foot until you can feel your foot from the foot's point of view. And then check in with how that foot is doing. Now take both feet and begin squishing the floor. And focus on how strong and stable the ground is under your feet. That you've got solid structure that is under your feet. Doesn't that feel good? That you are here in this room and that you are connected to this floor. Now do seat. Wherever you're sitting or standing, I want you to adjust yourself so you put your butt clear back to the end of your seat, and then I want you to straighten your spine to be the opposite of fetal position. So, you know, centered in the chair, shoulders back, neck up a little bit, and arms you know, resting comfortably at your side with the palms of your hands facing up. And then I want you to feel what that feels like. And now that you are facing out, I want you to look around your space, and in your mind's eye, I want you to point to things around your space and give the name of it. 4 or 5 things. And then add what color they are. And then simple counting. All right, now let's turn our attention back to our feet for the last stage of move. I want you to look back at your left foot, and, you know, firmly planted on the floor. And then I want you to arch your toe up. And then I want you to gradually feel the muscles in from your toe, then clench top of your foot, your ankle, and the calf muscles. I want you to feel what that feels like to have that all the muscles that would help you to walk. And then rest that one, do the same. You know, arch the toe, clench top of the foot, the ankle, the calf muscles until you're totally tensed to do one step. And now lay that down. Then I want you to do the same to do as if you're walking. One step clenched and then relax. The other foot clenched all the way up and then relax. Another step with the left foot. Practice step with the right foot. Now I want you to stand up wherever you are or do the best you can, Pat. And I want you to do practice steps as if you are walking around the room, okay? And then begin to walk if you can. Focus totally on the muscles of each leg. And you're dipping down to really arch it, and then dipping down for the next one, and dipping down. And then you begin to you know, face the room, and then now start coming back towards your chair. And I want you to, with the left foot, say, by my God. Right foot, I can scale a wall. By my God, I can scale a wall. By my God, I can scale a wall. And then come back to your chair. And we're done. Okay, how do I get out of this? Okay. Okay. Have mercy. All right. We're back. All right. So let me get out of that and have this. Okay, how did we do? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we
Sounds
can hear you.
good.
How'd you like it?
It was good.
Good.
Good to practice.
Did that make sense to you on how that worked?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, now we can talk about all of this stuff. This chapter we're tackling freeze mode and finding a better way of doing things with freeze mode. So what's our first one? How'd you like this quote that I had? Affliction is a pill which, being wrapped up in patience and quiet submission, may be easily swallowed, but discontent chews the pill and so embitters the soul.
I love that.
You love that?
Yes.
Yeah. That's from a book of his called Keeping the Heart, and it's a study that's on that verse from Proverbs. So that's a really cool thing. So on March 26th, the first question, how are you guys doing on doing drills? Are you able to do them, and are you marking when you get them done? Okay. All right. Let's jump into let's see, where are we? March. Where'd it go? March 26th. Okay. And this was all dealing with this season of feeling yucky. Some low days and various challenges provide good opportunities to use the drill and discover truths only learned in weakness. Okay, so March 26th, how did God use scripture to comfort Dee Dee in her body's low times? What practical help and insight did she receive that helped her to allow this season to unfold in a peaceful way? So what did you answer for that?
Specifically on March 26th, the scripture is, it isn't one of those, 2 Corinthians, you can do all things through Christ, or, it isn't the typical verses we look at. And I thought that was really sweet that it was a comforting verse.
Yeah.
The Lord gave you a verse of comfort, and it wasn't like, you got this, it was like, hide in me. And I feel like that's really comforting in these times.
Yeah.
Especially of illness, because you already feel so bad. Sometimes it's worse to be told, get up, you can do all things,
Yeah. Yeah. Great comment. I really appreciate what you said. For people, Diana's group, for people who have just gone through trust training, everything that you learned for after the battle is part of the strategy to deal with freeze mode, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So when we have a strategy of, we're not, totally shook if we find, if we're in a low time, but we know, okay, here's the proactive thing that I need to do, then that means that we know how to care for ourselves during times of lowness so that it doesn't go into overwhelm. Okay. So, and so that's if you haven't been able to go through that book, man, you need to do that sometime.
I noticed one thing, and that is that it's usually after we've gone through a crisis and the crisis is over, we will go into freeze mode.
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, we'll get sick.
Yeah.
Because we're going into freeze mode. Because all the adrenaline that was being used and all the other hormones that were being injected into our body through that time, whether it be a short time or a long time, all of a sudden it's over. And then unfortunately we go into freeze mode, and we need to get out of that to be able to assess
Yeah.
the whole battle.
Yeah. Yes.
We have to be kind to ourselves.
Okay. So for Adriana, I think you haven't been through this. There are a couple, Carla, the trust training study was to say, how can we trust God in different kinds of situations? And one of the situations we dealt with was after the battle, where so everybody knows how to trust God before the battle, where you're turning things into prayer and that kind of thing. And during the battle, we know how to, to trust the Lord in the middle of what's going on, where everything is the crisis phase. But once the battle is over, whatever the difficult situation is, our adrenaline just drops like a rock. And adrenaline has been one of the things that's been keeping us going to even animate our faith. And so, but when it's gone, which it goes, adrenaline just drops. Okay, and so the whole idea of after the battle is, how can you stay trusting God even when you have no motivation to do things, you have no energy, you crashed into a low frame of mind. And so this is saying, there's a predictable way of getting through that in a way that's peaceful. And so that's, so there's more to that. And so just the knowing of how to do that creates less tendency to do freeze mode, because we know what to do. Okay, and we already know that we're not going to pay a lot of attention to our depression if it's after the battle, because it's just an adrenaline crash. And so we don't have to, give it, a lot of weight. We can just say, you know what, I'm feeling depressed. And so what I need to do is go take a nap because I'm exhausted. I need to find ways of restoring my spirit, things like that. Okay, does that make sense? Give you a kind of a update, for that. So anyway, but and I think that this whole idea is when you're in these seasons that are low seasons, that our goal is to do it in as gentle a way as possible, because we have no energy. The adrenaline is gone, and it is not going to come to our aid. Okay. So we figure out ways of trusting God that don't rely on pep, giving ourselves a pep talk and being like this. Okay. That's unrealistic. Okay. In those times of extreme exhaustion. Okay. Or like me, this whole thing. You know what this pill was? This pill was Imdur. I don't know if anybody knows about Imdur. I don't know. Never heard of people talking about it, but the side effects are that you get a tremendous headache that goes on for weeks on end, and you are dizzy and woozy and nauseous for however many weeks it takes for you to get used to this pill, and it was no fun. So this whole thing here where I'm just feeling yucky time after time, it was like, oh my gosh. So, and now I've been taking it, and so, I don't get headaches or anything from it now, because like I'm an Imdur addict and I've finally acclimated to it or something, Okay. How about
Didi?
Yes.
What's intriguing when I was reading that is when you prayed for being content to go through the discomfort, the feeling that you're having.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would you want to pray for discomfort? Don't we want to pray to get out of the discomfort, the healing and on the peace and all that? And then at the same time, reading and thinking about Philippians 4:12, the one that you put in the book, like, I guess in order for us to feel the strength of God, we have to go through that discomfort, because without feeling all that yuckiness, we will not feel that strength that God has given us through, Philippians 4:12.
Yeah. The Philippians 4, I've learned the secret of being content, and there is no way to get out of having a long time of acclimating to that pill. So I needed to take that pill, and
right.
Somebody's going through, Dottie, I remember when you had your leg when it was healing, there's no way to say, God, remove this.
Right.
Like, it's like, help me to be able to go through and deal with this discomfort and do it in a peaceful way.
Right.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, great. You want to jump into April 4, grounding and rediscovering agency. How'd you like that one? Let's see. This first question was about, when my client was feeling, every morning she would wake up panicked. And so I said, well, where do you experience panic? And so she pointed to a spot, along her torso. And remember, when we are in, survivor mode, that there is some place along the torso usually where that is going. I mean, we're experiencing it along our nervous system someplace. Okay, so she knew where it was. It was like right here. Okay, and so I said, well, what does this person, what does it need for you to do? And so let's see if I can stand up a little bit. So she goes like this and like that. She, arms like this and then pressing against it. Okay, and with her eyes closed and then just allowing that to be there. And it was like her hands were getting warm and it was giving comfort to that panic spot. Is that, I'm going, wow, that's, I just was wondering what would happen. And it was like, cool, something really cool happened. Okay. So that was something where she figured out something that she could do. Okay. All right. What does it need for her to do? Okay. Then she instinctively knew what to do and did it. Okay. All right. Did you do any experiments on this, in the class, or was this just kind of okay, Dee Dee, that's weird. Okay. How are you doing? I need some feedback. How are you doing?
I think this idea of agency was really helpful for me this week. And aside from, your example was like a physical, like, she did this to herself, but sometimes like when I was reading it and looking through it, this idea of agency was, like exactly what your definition is, the capacity to act and do things independently of others, then, so it's funny because, God knows what we need when we need it. So like I just said before, God gave you the verse without telling you, the 2 Corinthians, which is what I always go back to personally, but he gave you something soft and sweet. But then it's also times where we do have that, hey, you're weak, I'm strong. Yeah. So in this idea of agency, the next page on 124, where you talked about, my agency in God's part, that was amazing for me to read, because I always say that, but this puts it into biblical terms. We can't just sit back and do nothing. Sometimes, right, we have those seasons, but agency reminded me in your examples, like when I'm acting, I'm not acting as a solo here. I'm acting with God on my behalf. Yeah. And that was wonderful to read and very helpful to understand. Mm-hmm. And in the back of my mind, even through our breath prayers, that's kind of what we're doing. Yeah. I'm bringing him in and getting myself out,
Yeah. Good. What does the body feel? What does it really, really believe? If we flip ourselves into freeze mode, what is the body feeling? Okay. And there are 2 D words that get us going, right? What are they?
Disconnected.
We are disconnected.
Doom and despair.
Layla, gold star, doom and despair. If we go into freeze mode, where like everything's overwhelming and our body flips into freeze mode where you're frozen or we're numb. Doom is I'm gonna die. We really, really believe, I'm gonna die. And despair, there's nothing I can do. There's nobody that can help me, right? I can't move. Okay. The second part is what we're targeting on this is to say that idea of I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do and I can't move. That's why the last part of the grounding drill teaches our legs to move again, because in freeze mode, we don't know. We have literally forgotten that we have legs that can move. Okay, so we teach our body that it can move again, and that's agency. Okay, and agents, just the idea that counters that strong belief of freeze mode, that there's nothing I can do. Okay. And once we can figure that out, that kind of breaks up the whole thing. It's like, well, maybe I'm not going to die if I can move, right? Right. Okay. So
Dee Dee, is it kind of like you're summoning your agency to come out? Like, or
Well-
saying it like, come on, agent, activate. Like one of the superhero, activate.
activate. Activate. I love that way. I think that would be a great way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agency is just the technical term for that. And
Right.
since I'm trying to be, follow protocols and stuff, that's the way my mind works. But the definition is the thing to keep in mind. The sense of, if I am feeling overwhelmed, and we were talking, who are we talking about? Who are we talking with? Where we were looking at things. Was it you, Adriana, in packing? Were you feeling overwhelmed by all the stuff that needs to happen and all the boxes? I don't, maybe it wasn't you, but it was like feeling that sense of, I'll never get this done. Okay. And then doing grounding that kind of calms that down and reminds us that I can move, and if I can move, I can do the job. And it's just reminding me that I can walk. Okay. And that's why grounding is such a powerful drill. Let me ask you, do you find it easier to choose to do stand down or easier to do grounding drill?
Stand down.
Stand down.
Yeah. Stand
Yeah.
down.
They also definitely stand down. I've been doing it a lot this week,
Yeah.
but it was helpful to go over the grounding because I seem to rush through it, that particular drill.
Yeah.
So that was helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Why do you think that even though we are often in a situation where the grounding drill would really be the one that would help us more, that we don't choose to do that one? We kind of resist doing that one.
Because I think we think that we're still in control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas with the grounding, you're not in control.
Yeah. And to the degree that you are in a state of being overwhelmed and you don't do grounding, you are buying into the message of freeze mode, which is doom and despair. Okay. I really believe that I can't move. And if I really believe I can't move, then I can't move to do grounding. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, which is, and to do grounding requires that we humble ourselves.
Can I ask a specific question?
Yes.
So I don't know which drill. I was struggling with this. I have this situation and I'm so if you're like, let's say claustrophobic or something, right? So that's my situation. So there's a Bible study at my church every Tuesday night and the room is small and packed. And the idea of being packed, even in a pew, I mean, everyone at Benita knows I sat in the chair with the arms because I am like panicked at that thought. Every Tuesday I get a stomach ache. Every Tuesday. So my question is, that's not like true claustrophobia, right? But it's that panic of this thing's coming. So I'm not really sure if that's a stand down or a grounding type of drill. And my body cues have not helped because I don't understand. And I'm not sure if anyone else has experienced that. You're like my stomach churns and I feel like maybe I should stay home because I don't feel good, but I know that's not really the case. So I always make myself go. So what kind of situation in that place where it's anticipating and it's a reoccurrent thing, what would a drill help? And if so, which one?
Okay. Thoughts, anybody?
I actually just have the same question, so I would like to know also.
Okay. Thank you, Layla.
I don't think it's freeze mode. I think I think it's you're stuffing down a flight mode.
That's kind of what I always thought, but then right now when you're talking about doom and despair, that's how I feel every week. Like I can't go in. I actually told my husband last week, if the room's packed, I'm not going. I'm going to my car. I'll sit in there for an hour and a half while the kids are in there. Like it's so panicky. It's so dumb, but it's just what it is.
Yeah. My thought with claustrophobia is that there's a fear there of what will happen if you're in that group. And I think that the idea of claustrophobia is that I can't escape. With flight or fight, I'm wishing to escape, and I'm revving up because I think that I can. Okay, and there's the incompleted action that I'm wanting to run, but I can't run. You know, but I'm there's something stopping me from running. But I think that you should practice with both and just see which one helps you more, and do micro movements. You know, when you can do this whole drill. You know, don't do the part with your forehead, okay? But do the whole drill except for the last actually walking around without making it obvious, and see what happens, okay? Because and just practice. And if stand down helps, then you stand down. If grounding helps, do grounding. But I think the main thing is to feel that it's okay to be in this confined space. All right. And that I'm going to be able to get out of it. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Patricia, Pat, it's confusing me to see your name, Patricia. Go ahead. But you need to get off mute.
Thanks. I had a situation when we were in Israel going in Hezekiah's tunnel because there were areas that were so tight, and I was going, I'm not going in there, I can't. And then I think you said to me, Dee Dee, you can do this or something. You said something like, it was really like commanding in a way or something. I don't remember your exact words. And I thought, you know, I'm going to miss this opportunity and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go in that tunnel. And so I went in the tunnel and I kept on saying, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And there were places that were okay for me, but then there were places that were really tight. But it's like, oh, there's an end to the tunnel. There's an end.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm glad that I did it for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Those tunnels were freaky. Yeah, they were really freaky. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
No,
You know
I was.
what I liked here. I think it's very empowering in the quote. He said, agency is the capacity to act, to do things independently of others.
Yeah.
And that I think is very empowering.
Yeah.
To act on our own behalf as a free agent.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think that this is something when we are working with somebody who is like a patient in a hospital or you know, somebody who is stuck in bed, is as much as possible, if there are things that person can do, it is helpful to say, you know what, you can do this, you know, and let them do it instead of you doing everything.
Yeah.
Because we can, you know, inadvertently keep somebody in kind of a freeze mode. But just having something, oh yes, I can do this, is really helpful. And it keeps, you know, body brain from taking over and sucking all the energy out of the room. Yeah, okay. Layla, you were making a comment?
No,
Okay. Is this helpful? What are your thoughts on the way we're going with this?
Didi, can I say something?
Sure.
So I like the part where in Judges 6:14, where it's explaining about Gideon, you know, and I
Yeah.
thought that it was very important to be able to see how God had already chosen him
Mhm.
for the task that he was going to do. God thought that he was capable of being able to save, you know,
Yeah.
Israel. But in a moment, he freezes because he doesn't feel like he's capable to do it. He
Yeah.
he even explained right there that he was the youngest in his father's house.
Yeah.
So he didn't feel equipped in the moment,
Yeah.
even though God had already selected him to do it. So the Lord then gives him a command, just like what you guys were saying right now, you know, which at that moment, the wording of him to be able to be definite as not only that blessing towards his life, but also that command of
Yeah.
truth,
Yeah.
right? And so we see that there's a breaking right there of that, you know, despair and that doomness that comes
Yeah.
upon him that actually he placed on him mentally, probably, right? Of course, everything was real because he was seeing it, but it was basically him.
Yeah.
And so when at that moment he hears this
Yeah.
and he is reinforced by God with what God is telling him, you know, then there's a change in his attitude and
Yeah.
there's a change, a mindset that changes right there to be able to take that step, right, of faith.
Yes.
And so I think it's, you know, I thought that that was so incredible, you know, how it reminds us many times that God does see us equipped even when we are having a situation in our lives.
Yeah.
But we have to do that switch, right? And that's the hard part, right? That's the hard part of not getting stuck and just moving in faith that we know that God is there with us, but we sometimes need that little push, right?
Yeah.
Just he needed it right there. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, that was really that was beautiful, you know, for me to be able to go through this. And like he said, he turned to him and said, go in the strength you have. Because the thing is that he had that strength and God knew that he had the strength, right? But he needed to remember that he had it, that
Yeah.
he did have it, and that he was going to be able to do it. So
Yeah.
that really spoke to me. Yeah.
Oh, good word. Yes, you know what? I think that because we're running a little bit late on time, I'm going to kind of push us forward a little bit. So let's turn to 140 and look at grounding and the stomach flu. That was kind of a interesting deal. Page 140. It was May 22nd, grounding and the stomach flu. Okay, so this was the only time all year. And as I've been doing these drills since then, this is the only time that ever I have tried to do the grounding drill and my body stopped me, which was interesting. Okay, so the question I have, yeah, and this is not in any way saying, hey, don't pray while you're sick. It was just saying, I'm being pretty self-disclosing here, and I'm saying I wasn't praying. I was just, you know, from morning till night, I was just feeling kind of out of it and yucky and, you know, not feeling much of anything. And I wasn't doing much of, you know, other stuff. I was just going through and feeling sick. What suddenly happened when she started to do grounding? Why did body brain actively resist her attempt to continue the grounding drill? So what happened there?
Thank you.
Yes, Patricia.
Well, before before it kind of protected you from the amount of pain you were feeling.
Yeah.
And then when you activated it, it's like, whoa, this is way too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that example.
Really?
Because yeah, I could relate to it because when I had COVID, I didn't want to read at all. So I thought, well, I can listen to the Bible. So I would do that. And I had really short prayers and I would pray, but yeah, it would be intermittently. And yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a good example too,
Okay.
that there might be times.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, the idea that as soon as I tried to, connect my brain, my smart brain to my toe, to my body, that what happened was not that I was thinking about my toe. It was like all of a sudden there was just wave of, oh, my arm hurts, my stomach, all kinds of places that I kind of had been numbed out on. All of a sudden I become aware of all of that. And it was like, whoa, kind of a thing. Yeah. This is not a good idea. Okay. So, so it was figuring out how to pray on a sick day and what new insights you might learn about body brain. So what was the solution on the, I really want to pray, but I'm just kind of feeling really out of it. So what did she figure? Did you like those prayers on 142?
Yeah.
I love those. I have used all three of those at different situations. I used the in the morning one. In my situation, I wake up in the morning and I either have pretty good energy to do the things I need to do, or I have days where I wake up and right from the get-go, I know I have no energy built in, to do the things of the day. And how do I deal with the day with very low energy? And so this one is in the morning. It was like, okay, no matter what's going on, how do I go through that in a trusting way? And I just really like it. If I'm to do nothing, let me do it gallantly. And that really resonates with me. If I'm just supposed to lay in bed and be sick, let me do it gallantly. I just love that. Okay. I'm not going to be a big pain in the neck to everybody. I'm going to be nice. But I'm just going to face it with courage. Okay. The one for trust in God is the one where God is healing. And sometimes we get so bogged down into it that we really don't have a lot of faith for healing. And that's fill my heart with faith in your love, that with calm expectancy, I may make room for your power to possess me and gracefully accept your healing. I've used that one in situations where, I feel like I'm never going to get well. And this is one saying, you know what, I'm going to embrace the idea you're going to heal me. And the last one I love for people who are in pain, that, this is life and death pain. And I just love that prayer. So anyway, okay. So what did she figure out this my new little, science experiment? And so I figured out this thing: painful illness equals shutdown, a kind of freeze mode, but not limbic freeze mode. So somebody want to unpack that?
I don't know if anyone here watches Dr. Pol on Disney Plus. Does anyone watch that? Am I the only weirdo? Yeah.
I watched
Okay.
Dr. Pol, veterinarian. Okay. Yeah.
So this is exactly what I thought of, because so it's a show about a vet. And whenever a dog or some animal, like, they're always so surprised my dog got hit by a car, I can literally see his bones and he's not even whimpering and he's letting us move his leg or whatever. That's kind of what I thought of. It's a mental shutdown to be able to deal with that thing. So that's actually exactly where my mind went when I listened or, read this part.
Yeah. Yes. This is an animal's thing. Yeah. Yeah. Or a rabbit will go hide out if it is in severe pain, and it is not active and thinking about everything that's going on around it. Yeah. Anybody else?
All I can think of is that, God has given us 6 days to work and 1 day to rest. And we've got to give ourselves permission to rest. We always think that we have to fill every moment of our day, every moment of our week, every moment of our month and year with activities. If not, then we're not being spiritual enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can curl up in our daddy's lap and go to sleep. That's okay.
Yeah. And there's an appropriate time for doing that. This isn't an escape from reality, but this is in those situations where your body is in that level of pain and injury, that we can work with our body to allow our body to heal. And I love that idea. I've never been that aware that if we are in this freeze mode kind of a thing for big illness or deep pain, that our body is helping us. And I never really realized that. That was the first time I had seen that. Yeah, that I had been blessed by kind of an anesthetic that I wasn't even aware that my body was doing. So not Tylenol, not anything, that my body was doing that. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? I think this is, did you see this? I sat there with curiosity.
Yeah.
This is a situation of something's going on in my body related to this survivor mode thing. And I just sit there and kind of focus my attention on it just with curiosity. And I'm in that stance to say, I wonder what's happening. And if I just, wait for it, within a minute or so, I get some kind of a impression. It's not, God speaking to me. It's kind of like I figure something out. And have you guys been able to do that? Have you had situations where you hear me saying it, and so you go, okay, this weird thing is happening with my arm. I wonder why. And you just kind of, okay, what's going on there? Crickets.
I thought that was a statement, not a question. Sorry, I did not get a question mark at the end of the sentence.
My question was, I was wondering if any of you had an opportunity this, in the last, several weeks to something's going on and it's kind of, unusual. And so you just stop and you say, okay, I'm going to sit with curiosity. Yes, Adriana.
This did happen.
Well, so I just moved to my new place, and like all week, me and my husband have been selling furniture, assembling furniture, moving, walking a lot. And so today's my day of rest. And this morning, so I'm 5 months pregnant right now, but
Yeah.
both of my legs have shin splits.
Oh, wow.
and it just happened this morning. And so that's funny that you're mentioning like the body being related to, yeah, because when we were doing the grounding right now, you're like, okay, feel your feet. And I'm like, and I just feel like when all the, just every movement, it was just a lot of like, yeah, just a lot of just pain. Just a lot
Yeah.
of just pain and what was the other word that I was thinking of? A strain. Strain was the word. I was like,
Yeah.
there's so much strain. So I feel like that word was like just closely related to like, yeah, this week it was just a lot of strain, and you do see that with your body connecting to your week. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So in the future, if you feel that, I don't want you to keep doing that. Okay. Because so this entry is saying, listen to your body. And if it's feeling like that, I don't want you to hurt yourself by doing the grounding drill. Okay. But also, as you're thinking about the shin splints, to be sitting there with curiosity and what does your body need there? Yeah. Yeah. So could somebody just could we stop and somebody pray for Adriana with all of these changes, that her shins would feel better soon, and that she would she with all of these moves she's going into after the battle, because this has been a huge project, hasn't it been, to move?
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of changes in your life to change from a job, and this is first baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could somebody pray for Adriana?
Thank you.
Would somebody like to do that right now? If not, I will, but I'm talking a lot anyway.
Barbara, go
I
ahead.
could.
Okay, Pat's gonna pray.
Father, we thank you so much for Adriana, Lord, and for this pregnancy. And Lord, we pray that you would heal this situation with her, what is it called?
Shin splint.
Shin
Splint.
issue, Lord, and help her to be able to walk without pain. And Father, we just pray for your peace, Lord, in the days ahead, Lord, as there's so many unknowns and questions and for the future, Lord. So I just pray that you would give their family peace that surpasses understanding, Lord, and your healing touch upon her body. And we thank you and praise you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's jump over to the June 7 entry that's on page 153. I am bound and determined to end this within the next 10 minutes. Okay. All right. We're going to give it our best shot. Okay. All right. June 7 and flight mode and where tension hides. Did any of you guys go over and do the prayer of unpacking and rest, either some other time or because I've taught this to people for years, and sometimes when clients come to me, they're just overwhelmed by what's going on today, and I have often taken people through this prayer. And it's just a really cool prayer. So did anybody try it, or have you tried it in the past? And, so keep your finger here, and you can, flip over to page 261 so you can see what's going on there.
I've done it with you, Dee Dee.
What?
I said, I've done it with you.
How was it?
Oh, it was wonderful that time, but because I've done it, I walked through it with you. As I was remembering the different steps and whatnot, I started realizing that there was a lot of burdens I was carrying, and it was so cool just to give them over to the Lord, because I realized they weren't mine to carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Do you see the picture on 261? That thank you, Diana. That picture is of a soldier. I think I got a picture of a woman soldier with all the stuff that she's carrying. You know, the backpack, and there's a armor that, you know, like a bulletproof vest, and then all the contraptions and the weapon and the helmet and everything. And it's like this, we carry this around. We carry the burden of our family. We carry the burden of, you know, the job that we do. We carry the burden of, you know, the people in our lives that are going through hard times. And it's like, you know, if you feel your neck is the place where things are congregating, then do this prayer. And it's the idea of, okay, instead of going through and dealing with each thing, it's like I take one thing at a time, as if I'm taking like the gun. Okay, I'm going to need all of this stuff. I'm not getting rid of it, but it's like, just however it makes sense to you, we're setting it aside and asking Jesus to hold on to it. Okay, so to, you know, just for 20 minutes. All right. And so we mentally kind of get a picture of that thing, and it's not in detail. It's like, it's not all the details of the problem at work. It's to just say the problem at work as like, okay, this object, let's see, it's like, okay, this pen. Okay, this pen is the problems at work, and I'm taking it off of my shoulder. I'm putting it like out here in front of me, and then I'm going to set it over to the side for Jesus to take care of it. And then here's the problem of my son that's giving me all kinds of worries. I take it off of my shoulder. I kind of put it out in front of me, you know, and I just label it. Okay, I don't go into all the details of it. I just label it, the problems with my son, and then I set that aside. It's that idea. You don't get bogged down in it. You just identify it, name it. And so on the next page, where there's all those things, we're labeling each one of what the thing is until, and it's like, we just kind of take each thing off, identify it, and then set it aside. And I didn't know, even though this is a prayer drill, a prayer exercise, it's amazing. There are some people that I've worked with who have a really hard time saying, okay, here's the problem with my son, and I'm going to set it aside for 20 minutes. It's like, no, I got to be holding on to the problems with my son, you know. It's kind of weird like that. Okay, and so I'm saying, okay, you know, can we do, is that something that you can, you know, wrap your brain around, just to put out here, and then to, you know, lay aside for just 20 minutes. Okay. Do you think that that person is having an easy time turning that thing over to the Lord if they are unwilling to set it aside for 20 minutes? Okay, it's just amazing. So anyway, to the degree, and when you get done with all of that stuff, I think that one of the things that's helpful is basically my role as a wife. Okay, you know, my persona, me as a wife, I push out here and I set it aside. Me as mother, I push it out, I set it aside. Me as pastor's wife, I put it out here and I set it until it's just me. Okay. And it's like, you just kind of, for me, shoulders is a big deal on this one. Okay. Because it's what am I carrying? Okay. And so then you set it aside and Jesus is going to take good care of it. And then part 2 is just to rest. And it's this, come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So for the middle stage, all we do is to sit there. The girl is lying in the field, just looking at the sun. It's like, I'm not any role that I take or any responsibility or any problem. It's just me, like when I was a kid out and I could, lay on the grass. Okay. And then there is just resting. So the only thing I'm focusing on is I'm resting and Jesus is here. And this isn't a time for a bunch of praying necessarily. It's a time for being in the presence of Jesus, resting. Okay. And then now with that, sometimes I hear a lot of things in that time of resting, but usually Jesus speaks in the still small voice. He's a quiet presence. Okay, so resting in that quiet presence often is silent. Okay, and you'll figure out when it's done. And then the last part is repacking. So then I go back to, there are some things like this issue, whatever this issue was, that I'll say, do I need to put this back on? And there's some things that you're going to say, it would be a lot better. I kind of like the idea of just giving that to Jesus and letting him hold it. Okay. And then there are some things that my situation with my son, you know what? I am in relationship with my son. I can't, I'm not going to not be in relationship to my son. But with those, I say, okay, Jesus, I need to put this on again. So how can I put it on again without it being this big burden? And asking that question, oftentimes I get some kind of just a practical idea, nothing complicated, but there'll be a practical idea of, you don't need to deal with any of this stuff. Hey, how about if you, bake him a cake or, I don't know what, just a simple thing. Okay. So that's what that's about. Okay.
Just interrupt just a minute. I think that your example that you put right now with, I have a relationship with this person. How do I go back? You here on page 265, you said it might be the worry or fear that weighs you down. So we can still have that relationship with that person, take that back, but leave the worry or the fear with Jesus.
Yes. Yeah.
We can separate the two.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very cool exercise.
Yeah, it is.
And if you haven't done it before, ever, if you are feeling weighed down, then do this exercise. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the last one on November 11, page 221. So what was the big idea of this one? It was that list of things that Paul was praying for the Colossian believers. And 3 of them were active and 1 of them was passive. Okay, so what was active? This is on page 221.
Active is bearing fruit.
Bearing fruit.
The knowledge.
Growing in the knowledge of God.
Giving thanks.
Yes, those are all active things we do. What's the passive thing?
Well, the passive is being strengthened because we're getting it from outside, from without, We don't have it. We're getting it.
being strengthened with all power according to his glorious might. Louisa, this is exactly 2 Corinthians 12:9, right? So that you may have great endurance and patience. So it's receiving his strength so that we can endure and have patience. All right, and it's passive of receiving it. Isn't that a cool idea?
Wonderful. It's just wonderful.
I just love this idea. This is very much wisdom of the small. Okay, it's very much wisdom of the small. There's no adrenaline involved in doing this. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, no adrenaline of mine. Yeah, it's something I can do in total weakness to say, Lord, I receive your strength. And for me, I do it in the prayer that I had there was, Lord, be my strength when I have no strength. And I love you, oh Lord, my strength. I think those two prayers are the thing that access it for me. Yeah. This is a prayer I prayed a gazillion times. Yeah. And it's kind of the shorthand of 2 Corinthians. Yeah.
Sometimes when we're going through these, reading through the book, I'm like, dang it, where was this last week? Dang it, where was this 2 weeks ago? So it's encouraging though to see, I'm not the only one maybe facing some of this stuff. And I think each one of us can probably relate to that.
Yeah. 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 I think I learned more about what to do about freeze mode during this year. Each one was a learning experience, but doesn't this feel like this is a better way to stay safe? Instead of letting body brain just flip us into freeze mode, which is governed by doom and despair. Okay, instead of that, there's a much better way to be in a situation where we are weak and vulnerable, or we're in a situation where we actually are overwhelmed. Okay, but do it in a more peaceful way, and we bring the Lord into it in a more peaceful way. All right, so yeah. Any last comments?
We just have to remember we're not alone.
Yes.
The battle is the Lord's, and we're not alone. And we feel so many times in survivor mode that we're alone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Okay. Blessings, Ani. Any last comment before I turn off the? Where's the view? Oh, here's the recording. Okay.
I just want to say, Didi, that it's a beautiful how you ended on page 222, the gratitude prayer. Beautiful, even highlighted in mine.
Oh, good.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Good.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure thing. Oh, yes. I love the way the Lord works and the way that he gives us way better ways to deal with these problems, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Did you all get the thing for next unit?
Yes, I did. I brought, wherever they are, they're over there. I brought copies.
Oh, good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording here.